Hello everyone, I am Devan Srivastav from the Youth Project. We have just started. We'll wait for around 2 minutes, 2 to 4 minutes for our colleagues to join in. Hello, we will wait for around 2 to 3 minutes more for our fellow members to join. I hope you are doing good. So, hello. Hey, yeah, it's evening. I'm really sorry. A very good evening. Even it's night over here in India for me. It's good to have you guys. So, yes, let's begin. I'm Devan Srivastav from the Youth Project, and a very warm welcome uh, to everyone to this live class. And I hope you are able to code something in Python. You are able to write something and execute it and see the results. So this is the best part of programming. If you do some practice, it can do wonders to you. Okay, so let's start without much ado. Let me do the same procedure. This was my working directory, right? Herein, I will go to command prompt. Let me open my Zoom. Ah, I'm sorry. Okay, so we are in our working folder, okay, Python Nigeria, and to open our code editor, that is Visual Studio Code, from this folder, I would have to type code space dot, right? So we will uh, start. Today we will start the application, the command line application which we decided to build, that is COVID Patient Finder. Okay. And so we in the last class we saw that collections can be present, like collection of objects can be there, like we created a dictionary. Okay, country dictionary, and what we did was we put that dictionary inside the list. Okay, so I had multiple dictionaries inside my list. Okay, so here is my list, and these are the dictionaries which are present. Okay, this is first dictionary, this is second dictionary, India, and this is the third dictionary. Okay, Italy is the third dictionary. Now, what we will do today is we will apply some conditions and we will apply some loop on our data, on our list, and try to find the data of one particular country. Okay, so let's do that. So first, I will copy this data structure which we created that day, countries data. Okay, let me copy this and let me go and create another file. COVID CLI app. I forgot to give the extension. COVID CLI app dot py. I will delete this one. Okay, so COVID CLI app, and what I will do is I will just write some print welcome to my COVID CLI app. Okay, and now what I will do is I will paste the similar data structure that we created that day, and that is nothing but a list of dictionaries. Okay, so now I have country data, I have a list of dictionaries. Okay, like this, and now I will write some code over here to take the input from user that which country data he wants. So I will write like this. As we saw that there is an input function which we can use to collect the user input. Okay, so input, enter the country. Now over here, now we know that whenever the control flow will come to this line, it will get stopped on the line 28 and will ask for an input. Now, if we want to filter out the data, what we have to do is if country user wants is equals to, we will compare that is it equals to India or country user wants is equals to India. In the lower case, right? We are giving him two options over here and nothing much. For you, you can do like this as well. You can add one more or, and you can say country user wants is equals to India, right? You can give three options as well, but I am giving just two, that either he can enter country in this way or in this way. Similarly, I will write one else condition, else if, right? So we have multiple else if else if ladder, right? So now what I have to do is I just have to write else if What I have to say now? Country wise, the country user wants equals to USA, or user wants equals to USA. So we have given these two things, these two options to the user, right? We will write what is to be done next, but first let's create our if ladder correctly and then move on to the internal things. Now the next situation is else if country user wants is equals to Italy, right? Or country user wants equals to Italy in the lower case, right? Now we have prepared, but there is one last else which you have to apply, and this is a mandatory one. What you have to do is else if the user has not entered these three options, because we only have the data of these three countries, right? USA, India, and Italy, right? So I have the data of only these three countries. So what I will say in the end, that else in from country, or else we can say that we do not have data of the country entered, right? So now we have prepared our if else if ladder, and now let's add the code inside these, right? So what we know is that in this particular country's data, the zeroth element is USA, the first element is India, the second element is Italy, right? You can see this clearly. So what you have to do is now just have to write print. What I will say? I will say that country data, country's data of where India is sitting at the first place, right? Dot name. Okay. Second print, country's data of first dot active patients. I will just copy paste from here, right? And the third is print country's data dot cured. Okay. So in this way, we have what we have written is if country user wants is India, country user wants is India, then what I have to do is I have to print these three lines. And what these three lines say is just give the data about the first index, that is India, right? That is the first object of this. Technically, it is the second object, but it is indexed from 0, 1, and 2, right? So I hope you are clear with the indexing and you don't get confused. Similarly, in the case of US, what you have to do is you just have to write 0, right? And in case of Italy, what I have to do is I will just write index number 2. Okay. And if these three conditions are not fulfilling, either Italy, US, or India, then what it must say that this whatever you have entered is wrong. Okay, so let's check how it works. Okay, okay. I hope it is right. Everything is right. Okay. One mistake I have done is what I have done that when I do countries of one, okay, right? Then what I get is a dictionary. This and what I want to do is I want to get the key out of it, right? But Yamini is having a problem. But the problem is we don't understand what value is for what. Yamini, can you explain what you are like exactly what you are not understanding? So what I'm getting is when I'm writing this much thing, countries data one, right? Then I'm getting this particular dictionary. Now, if I want to get the name key, then I have to write dot get and the key name, right? Because dictionary method works in this way. So this is a mistake which I did, and this is an implication that the first object or any object inside the country's data is not a normal object but a dictionary, right? And to get the value for any key, what you have to do is you have to call the get method. So similarly, what I will do, I will now again copy here, I will paste here. This way. I just have misplaced the if else condition because I wanted to explain you that you don't have to write, you don't have to be sequential in your order. You just have to understand that if the country user wants is Italy, then you know that Italy is present on countries data second index, right? So that's why I have misplaced. I would have simply written USA first and then India. Okay. But I just want you to understand this. Let's see how it works. We close this one. Let's run our file. Okay. So it says welcome to my COVID app. Now, if I do here India, then it shows me India, right? The Indian patients, when I enter, when I run again, I have to run the app again. Just remember, I have to run the app again and I enter Italy. What happens? The Italy data is given to me, right? Similarly, when I enter USA, the US data is given to me, right? But there is one issue that I have to run the app again and again, right? So let's see how we can solve that particular problem. Okay, first, but before that, what I want to explain you guys is the functions, how functions are created. Even though I have told you once, but let me tell you again. In short, I will tell you. Thank you so much, Mohit. Thank you so much. Rohit says big fan, sir. Okay. Okay. So here, what I will write is def. Okay. My COVID function. And here, let's say I write name and this, and I do this, and I write. Okay. x equals to let's say msg equals to hello plus name return msg. So you have to understand couple of things over here. What is this? This is your function name. Okay, this is the name of the function. This is just the syntax of how you have to define the function. Okay, I'm sorry, let me take that over here. This is the name of the function. This is the syntax in Python how you define a function. Okay, so def means define. Okay, now here what it is called is parameter. Okay, parameter over here inside the parenthesis of a function. This is called parameter. You have to learn this. This is called parameter. Now I will perform some operation on this. I will concatenate hello with the name and assign it to message, right? And return message. So what this means is that this particular function, my COVID function, whenever it is called, whenever I call this function, then it returns this particular thing, message, msg. Okay, so but to execute this particular thing, I have to call it. Okay, and to call it, I have to just simply write in my code my COVID function Devansh. Okay, I just have to write this line in my code. So when I write this particular line in my code, then automatically the control flow goes to this, then line by line execution of each line happens, and due to this particular line, it returns me something. What I can do is I can simply catch it. I can simply catch it. I'm sorry. Okay, I can simply catch in some variable over here, result equals to. So what happens is whenever this particular thing get executed line by line and it returns something that is this. So whenever this method is called, the return, whatever is returned will be entered into the result variable. Okay, so what it will contain, what the result will contain hello Devansh, right? So because I sent the Devansh as name, right, in this, and I received this particular thing. I hope you are very much clear on how functions will work. Okay, so it is nothing like function is nothing complicated, but it is a method of enclosing your lines of code into particular, like in a entity, in a single entity, because there may be a situation where, let's say, you are building a calculator. Okay, so you are building a calculator for performing operations on two numbers. So you will have a add function. So you can write def add a comma b. Okay, so it will return add will return a plus b, right? Return a plus b. Similarly, subtract will return a minus b. Similarly, there can be other functions like multiply and divide, right? So that's why, like, functions are nothing but they are something like you are enclosing your code into something. Okay, so I hope this is pretty much clear. So what we will do is, now what problem we are facing, the problem which we are facing is that the program gets ended each time I call. Okay. Once I searched the results for Italy, it got ended, right? So let's see what we can do. First, what we will do is we will put this whole thing, this particular thing, inside a function. Def find COVID data, and what this will take is country name simply, right? I will enclose this whole thing. Will enclose this whole thing, and as I told you, we have to follow particular indentation, right? So I'm defining a method called find COVID data, and inside this I'm okay. I'm writing this thing, but as we have compared everything with our country user wants, right? So I have to change the variable name to country name, right? So let's do that. Let me just copy this one over here. Okay. Now let's see what we can do. Now we saw that that there are loops, right? So there are as we saw the uh, our for loop, right, in which we wrote in this way that for country in countries data, right? So it will iterate one country at a time, and this will work in that way. So one more loop construct which you have is while. Okay, and what we do in this while, to run in this while, we write the condition like while x is greater than 5, you have to do something like print hello. Okay, but in while you have to write one more thing, that x plus plus x equals to 0 is equals to x plus 1. Okay, so this is a while loop where we give the condition inside the while parenthesis, right? So there may be a situation that we want this loop to run for infinite cycle. Here we have given that okay, whenever x becomes greater than 5, you have to stop this loop, right? But there can be a situation where we don't want this loop to stop. Okay, so in that situation, what I can write is while I will assign x equals to true, and while x means I'm saying that while x means while the situation is always true. So the loop always breaks down, always stops its execution whenever this condition inside the while gets false, right? But as I'm passing this true, I'm saying that you have to run until x does not become false. Okay, so now what I have to simply do is I will take the state name, sorry, the country name inside this particular thing name. Just notice what's happening carefully and ask if you have any doubt. Okay, so input, enter, enter country. Okay, now what I will do, the second thing what I have to do is, now I have the country from the user, I just have to call the method which is here, right? I have written this method over here, find COVID data, right? So I have to just call this function and pass the country name which I've got. So here, find COVID data, and in this I will send the name. Okay. Now, what I will do, the problem over here is we don't have any mechanism to stop it. We don't have any mechanism to actually break this loop, right? It will run each and every time. Because x is not changing to false, right? X is always true. So let's see what happens here. Let me do one more thing, that I will take one more input, that let's ask the user if he wants to look for another country or not. Okay. And if he says yes, then I will keep this loop running. It's very simple. See, I will say input. I'm sorry, I will not say input. I will say choice. Okay. Choice input. Now, I will say that, do you want to search data for other country as well, right? Now, if simply I have to speak correctly so that I can write correctly, right? Here, I will just simply write that if choice is equals to yes, or choice is equals to yes, okay, then keep x. I'm sorry, my PC is hanging a bit. I have to check what has happened. My PC is hanging a lot. I don't know what has happened. It's going wild. Okay, so if choice is yes, then I have to keep x as true, right? Else x equals to false, right? And as x will become false, then the loop, this condition will break by itself and it will come out, right? So else print, thanks for using our app. Let's see how it works. I think it must work fine, but let's see. Okay, so here you go. Enter country, India. Okay. Do you want to search data for other country as well? Yes. Enter country, Italy. I've got the data for Italy. Do you want to search another country as well? No. Thanks for using our app. Bye bye. Right? I hope you're getting it, like what I have done. If you want me to explain it once again, I can do that once again. But what I will do, what I have done, if I tell you quickly, is here I have enclosed this whole if the business logic, the where we are finding the data, where we are comparing the data in one function called find COVID data, right? This function is taking a parameter called country user wants, right? Now, What I have done is I have ran a loop, a while loop, where I have passed x. X is a boolean. I have default assigned it as true, right? So this loop will run until x does not become false, right? So here, what I have done is I have taken the input from the user in this particular variable, that which country he wants, right? And I have passed this input, this name that user has entered to this function. Okay. And simply in the next line, I have asked the user that if he wants to search another country as well. And if he says yes, then I have kept the loop running again. Otherwise, I have told him that, okay, thanks for using our app. And bye-bye. I have made the X as false. One more thing which you can do is, instead of doing X as false, you can write this as break. Okay. What break does is, break, whenever the execution, whenever the interpreter encounters the keyword break, what it does is it just stops the execution then and there. It stops the execution of the loop, this particular loop, then and there, and comes out of the loop. Okay. So let's see if it is working in the same way with the break as well. Enter country, India. Do you want to search data for other country as well? No. Thanks for using our app. And our app is used. Like we have reached the end of our app, right? So now we are done with this particular application, a small application which we have created through this particular data structure, right? And it is pretty much straightforward, and you don't have to like if you read the code and if you practice one or two times, you will be getting it very easily. Okay. So now what we will do is, if you are clear about this, we will move forward towards other concept, a very important concept called classes. Okay. And we will see how classes work. And if we get time, we will see how inheritance work in Python. If you have any doubts, you can post it into the chat window. Let me see the chat window once again. When data is displayed, so there are active, patient, and cure. It will not be understandable by the user. Okay. So yeah, so you can write in this way, Yamini, like active patients, right? So you can write in this way that active patients simply cured patients. I hope you are asking the same thing, right? Active patients, cured patients, and here I will write country name, right? And I'll just try to run for India and check whether I've done everything right or not. Right? Now you can see that there is a string appended, country name, active patient, in front of your data, right? So I hope you are clear. Great. So let me drink some water and we will start with the concept of classes. Okay, it is a very important concept which will really help you in your in your development career. Let me drink some water. Okay. So what is the concept of class? First of all, if somebody asks you what exactly class is, okay, You can find the syntax of creating a class, and what are the methods which are present in a class, and all the stuff online. But I will tell you the basic concept what classes are. Okay, so let me create another file called class concept.py. Okay, and over here what I will do is let me declare a string name equals to Devansh. And what we saw was if I want to check the type of this particular variable, what I have to do is, right? And let me run. Okay. So let me run the app. Mm, Python. Class concept of py. Okay. So here it says that that particular name variable is of class string, right? str. So what does this mean is the data type of the variable is string, right? You have got, as I explained you that day, let me explain you once more in short, that whenever I write this particular line, name equals to Devansh. Okay, so what happens is, as we have seen that this is of class str, so I get a object of str class, right? And the address of this in the RAM is 1000, let's say. Okay, so in this name, somewhere in the RAM you have 1000. And now, as the Python developers, whoever has developed Python, has written the implementation of this particular class str. Okay, there are some predefined methods. Okay, there are some predefined methods. We have created the user defined methods that were created by us, right? We created the method called COVID, my COVID details, right? We created function called my. In the same way, there are some methods which are defined by the creators of this class str, like we saw capitalize, right, ends with. Okay, so whenever you create this particular object, you get these methods by default. Okay, these methods you have by default. Now what we say is name is of data type str. Similarly, when I do this thing, when I write countries data like this, okay, name equals to this, similarly age equals to something something something, okay, then what we say is the country is of data type dict, dict, right? And again we get some methods in that of dict, right, like get and append, right? There are many methods. Okay, you can search that on Google easily. So what point I'm trying to make over here is there are some classes which are created by the Python developers already. Okay, but in the similar fashion, what you can do, you can create your own data types as well. Let me tell you how. So let's say you want to create your own data type named animal. Okay, so what you will do, you want something like animal 1 equals to animal, right? I will tell you what I'm doing, but what you want is, there are some method that you will get with this particular thing of your own, not defined by the Python developers. Okay, like get name. Okay, and uh, get, or let's say speed or bark. Okay, so you want this kind of data structure of your own, like this kind of data type of your own. So what you have to do is, you just have to create your own classes for that. Okay, and for that, what you have to do is simply class animal, and here inside the animal, you can simply write anything like let's say x equals to 5, or let me write something more contextual. Let's say def, you have your own method like get name, return like Tom, right? Okay, so here what happens is, let me check how this runs. Okay, what you have to do is, now as you used to do name equals to Devansh, then the object of string class used to get created, right? Similarly, if you want to use this particular get name function, you have to create a object of animal class. Okay, so let's say a1 equals to animal, right? And a1 dot get name, n, and let me print n and see what happens. Okay, just a minute. I have done some indentation problem in this. You don't have to miss any indentations in this. Okay, you will see a very like peculiar kind of you will be surprised that what it is. Okay, like you are getting type error, get name text takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. What does this mean? This is a very interesting concept which you will learn, you are going to learn now, that you will see that what this line says. Let me copy this line. Okay, so this particular method says, this particular error says that get name takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. What is happening? I have not given any arguments. So parameters are also called arguments when we are calling any function. We have seen the parameters, right? Like written inside this, something like this, right? So what does it say? It says that get name takes 0 positional parameter, but 1 was given. 1 was given, but I have not given any parameter, right? The get name over here and get name over here looks the same, right? But internally it does not work that way. What happens is, with every method, like every object you are creating, like A1, okay, let me first check that if I pass simply, like I will write self. Let's see what happens, if this works or not. Again, it says type error. Get name takes zero positional parameter, but one was given. What happens is, with every object, what you have is the address of that object, right? So let me show you graphically over here. The right way of doing thing of declaring class is, whenever we write a equals to animal this, okay, so due to this the object gets created, but it demands, whenever we are calling a method, the address is given to each object, right? Let's say I'm creating another object, a2 equals to animal, right? So there will be another object created due to this, and the address would be, let's say, 2000, right? So there are two different objects and two different addresses, right? And this particular address is by default needed whenever we are creating a object and calling a method of this that class. Okay, like here in our code, what we are trying to do is we are trying to create a class called animal, and we are trying to call this particular function of this, okay, of this class, right? So to call this, to do this particular, to achieve this particular thing, what I need to do is either I have to use one thing called def init function. Okay, I will explain what init does. Self name, okay, name. Now what self does is, even though you will not pass anything over here, but the address of this object a1, the address of this object a1 will be default passed in this particular init method, like in this particular self variable. And for each object this will happen the same way. Like if I write a2, so here the value of self would be, in our diagram, as I told, self equals to 1000, right? When I declare another object, let's say a2, and here I write animal, right? And then I called a2 dot get name, right? Then what happens is, a2, for a2 the self would be, what would be the self? 2000, right? So what you have to understand is, this init method, this particular thing, this is used to set the value of this particular object's address into the constructor. Okay, so I have to tell the interpreter, like for which object this get name method is being called. So let's say I'm calling for 1000, so I'm calling for this particular object, right? Now here what you can do is simply write self dot name equals to name. Now what you have to do is, now you have created a variable inside your animal, like your constructor. This is this is called a constructor. Okay, and this particular method is always like this particular constructor is always called whenever you create a method, whenever you create the object, I'm sorry, whenever you create the object is of this particular class. Every time you create the object, every time this init method will be called, and every time the address of the value of this a1, address of this a1 will be set in the self. You don't have to define the self. Okay, so this is the basic concept of how objects are created when you have to create your own data type. Okay, now let's see how it works. Let's say I'm creating the object of this particular animal. Okay, let me once try to remove this line of code, and over here I'm passing just one thing, that is dog. Okay, hey, it's dog. Yes. I'm concatenating the string with self dot name, right? So if you try to understand, if you practice this, it is like a very easy thing for you, and you will not face any problem. Okay, and similarly, if I'm doing for this, I have to pass, like I will pass cat, right? Now let's try to run this. If it works fine, return this, and now I'm not printing anywhere, so let me print this. We will again revisit the class in the Django section when we will study about Django. Okay, we'll again revisit this. So don't worry much about this. So print a1 dot get name, right? So we have set it the name through this init method, through the constructor. We have told that in the self, in this 1000 location, there is a variable called name. If you see like this, there is a variable called name inside 1000. What you have to do is assign dog to that name, Similarly, what we are doing here is I'm saying that when I'm doing this particular line number 12, okay, a2 equals to animal cat. Okay, what I'm saying is call the init method and set 2000 at the 2000 memory location, set name equals to cat. So what is happening under the hood is, here wherever there is a name in this object, cat is getting set, right? It is easy with the visualization. If you can visualize the code, then it is very easy to do. Okay, now what I'm saying is, there is a method in this, there is a function written inside the animal object. What is that function? That function is get name, right? Similarly, in this object also, in each object of animal class, you get all these things, right? Name. Similarly, like you have seen the string or dictionary, in each string you get the capitalize method, right? Similarly, in each animal class object, you get the get name method. Okay, so let's see. Let me remove this one first over here, and then let me tell you what's happening. So you have understood these 4 lines which I have written, right? Okay, now let me execute it and see what's the error, or there is no error. Okay, I have written this thing wrong. Here I've forgotten the colon. See, what it says is, again, get name takes 0 positional arguments, but one was given, right? On which line number? Line number 17. Okay, just a minute. I have to remove this line. Okay, now it is throwing again error that it is asking for 0. It is taking one parameter, but we are not passing any, right? So no, what it says is it takes 0 positional arguments, but one was given. So whenever by default, just cram this line that by default, whenever you are calling any method which is of your class, of your created class, there is by default the address of this class passed with this method. Even though you don't have to pass explicitly, you don't have to write over here, but this is a argument which is present over here. And in this case, the address of this own object, that is, in this case, the address of A1 is getting passed over here. In this case, the address of A2 is getting passed over here. Just understand, okay? uh, there may be some, like, a little bit gap in the language, but just understand what's happening. Okay, so what happens is, by default, it is passed, and if you don't catch it over here, then this is not going to work, because it says that here I'm not passing anything at all. This get name, if you see, if you don't know the internal working, then this get name and the defined get name looks similar, right? But why it is saying that it takes 0 positional arguments, but one was given, right? Because here we have not taken anything, any parameters, but one is getting passed default by default. Which is that argument? Which is that thing? The address of the object for which the method get name is getting called. Okay, so 1000 is present over here, but is not visible to you. So we have to add something which will catch this particular object, this particular past thing. So I will write self, right? And simply what I will do is I'll try to run this program again. Everything works fine, right? Because what happened in the first case, I said that 1000 dot get name. Okay, so what it does, it gave 1000 by default to this self, and here when I searched, then in the 1000 memory allocation I will get the name, right? Similarly, for the second object at the 2000 memory allocation, you will get the name, that is cat. So one time it prints what is inside 1000 location, the other time it prints what is inside the second 2000 location, right? It is the internal working. See, very less people will tell you the working, the visualization of how it is happening. So they will tell you that, okay, you have to define self and all, but what's happening under the hood is this. Okay, so the most important getaway is this. Okay, one line this, and another thing is this thing is getting passed, but you cannot see. And it's not necessary that you will name your variable self only. Okay, you can name anything. You can name ABC, you can name XYZ. Okay, so this is the core working of how like objects are created. So now we have seen how we can create our own data types. Like animal is my own data type, right. So I think this is like this concept is very important. It is enough for the day. And like tomorrow we can see tomorrow we can proceed to basics of Django. And we will see regex in the Django only, so don't worry about that. And we will see a basic level of exception handling in Django. Okay, so again we will not learn anything without think like without keeping a app in our mind. Okay, first we'll think of an app. What we will do is we will convert this particular COVID application into a web application. Okay, a Django web application. So I think you will enjoy this. And I hope the concepts are getting cleared, what is happening internally, and why this is like why a1.getName is giving you dog only. Okay, because we have done the setting through here and the getting through here. Okay, so if you want the code for reference, you can message me on our WhatsApp group. I will send you all these files for the reference. But you have to practice this. Okay, without practice you cannot understand anything. So the most important thing is you have to understand, practice. So okay, so I think we are good to go for today. We have our next class in like 20 minutes. So if you have any doubts, any problem, then you can post me in this chat or in that chat, like in our WhatsApp chat. So I hope you are enjoying this. And I see that more and more people have joined today's class because I guess it's the timing. So let me minimize this. And yes, okay. So it's night over here. Please forgive my my clumsy look, but thank you so much for joining in, and see you tomorrow. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Keep practicing. Keep coding. Thank you so much.